Doug Smith with another Restaurant Mastermind interview here on LinkedIn, talking right now regarding social media. This is Brian Picard. He owns Fatty Smokehouse out in Moore, Oklahoma, and do something that a lot of restaurants do not do. They view social media as a willing partner in their marketing as opposed to being deathly afraid of it. So Brian, first off, what is your approach to social media and why do you view it as a friend as opposed to a foe?
Well, I think it's our window to the world inversed. It's the window that everybody else can see us, right? And we understand that. And so it's an extension of the brand. And we've talked about this before, Doug, that for me, I want what they see on social media to mirror what we see and how we act in the store, right? We're very goofy. We play with Hot Wheels with kids at their tables. We have squeaky chickens all over. And so to me, social media needs to be an extension of that. And what I mean by that is I can't just go post 400 words a couple times a week and think that that's going to mirror what we do, because we don't. So as my brother and I opened the store, we thought about, like, I know from enough marketing that I've got to do a mix match of pictures and videos and just regular text and events and live videos and all those things combined. But how do you go manage all of that? And so we just decided early on we would approach it very naturally, very raw, not a lot of scripts, because that's how it is in the store, right? I don't script how I go sit and talk to a guest at a table. That's not us. So the social media wanted to be reflective of that. We're a little edgy, right? We tend to kind of push a boundary, and we know sometimes we have to pull back. And that's my philosophy in business in general, of not being afraid to fail. I think social media has to be that same approach. One of the things that, because of that approach we've gotten, is people recognize me and my brother all over the city. Like, oh, you're that guy on those videos. And I'm like, oh, well, you must follow Fatties. And I'm like, yes, we love you guys, right? And so it creates this sense of they know us before they ever walk in the door. It creates a comfortableness because they know what we're about. We're not a big entity that has all these overly done pictures and these videos that had perfect lighting. And it's raw, it's in the store, it's on the patio. I take pictures in the moment. You and I were talking about that earlier. It's like I'm a big content guy. I don't set out to go shoot a video most of the time. I don't set out to go find the perfect picture. I see something in my window that looks really nice, and I take a picture of it. I see my employees doing the right things with guests. I take a picture of it. I've got a burger guy that is funny as can be, and he dances and sings while he's flipping burgers. I'll shoot videos, take pictures. That becomes part of that content that at some point I'll use, whether it's on a big ad or whether it's just in a weekly post. I think recently we had one about one of our employees that was one of those long Saturdays, right? We're in the barbecue world, so we start really early. And some of our guys were on doubles because we had people out on vacation, so on and so forth. And he posted, he came into the kitchen with a big cardboard sign that said, "Will work for Bangs." Bangs being the energy drink. And my brother snapped a picture of it, and we just laughed. It's like that was the perfect part of our day, and we put it on social media. What happened? My brother had gone to get Bangs for the staff, and by the time we got back, we'd had some guests bring in some Bangs, right? And so that's that part of social media that's so important. Is that a little edgy? Because you could read that the wrong way if you wanted to.
Sure.
But it's also our people know that that's who we are. We're a little crazy, a little kooky, and to have people show up with energy drinks for the kitchen staff, that tells you that social media works in real time with your existing people. And that's why your program made sense to me. It's just an extension of using what we do in our store to let people have that window into these four walls.
And I think looking at the social media side, you have a high risk tolerance, meaning one, you guys did a perfect knockoff of now famous Alec Baldwin Saturday Night Live NPR Shreddy Balls that they run every Christmas.
Right.
And you also did the recreation, you and your brother, of the clay scene in the movie Ghost.
I make a great Demi Moore, don't I?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I had to two or three takes. But I think that would scare the bejesus out of most people. So someone watching this right now as a restaurant owner, they know they need to do it, but it scares them. What piece of advice would you give them to break through that wall and do that type of content?
I think you have to realize you're braver than most, right? Opening a restaurant has got to be the scariest thing in the world to do, and you did that. Having a payroll sitting over your head every week is freaking scary, and you manage that. Social media is just another arm, right? And maybe it's sometimes, I know the people I talk to, it's getting in front of the camera. Then don't get in front of the camera. Find somebody in your business that loves being in front of the camera. If you have bartenders, cashiers, cooks that enjoy being a part of it, use those people. If you have regular customers that they could do testimonials, they would do it for you. I guarantee it. You just have to be willing to ask. You can't be afraid to fail. You've done too much already that scares the heck out of the normal person out there. So take a picture, find the right heading for it, ask your staff. Right? I've learned over the years too that I'm rarely the smartest person in any room, but I'm smart enough of a person to know who to go ask. And so my staff a lot of times will come up with great headings for pictures or great ideas for a video. The NPR video that you referenced was actually something that came about because of my manager was talking about it was that time of year and he looks forward to it every year. And that just sparked that moment of, oh, we could recreate that, right? And so I think you just can't be afraid to go into it. We do so much that's super scary as it is as restaurant owners that this just needs to be an extension of one more scary little thing that you deal with that sometimes is going to work, sometimes isn't. It's no different than how do you process the idea of putting forth a new special, right? You know what works on your menu, right? So it's easy, right? Just like you know that your billboard has worked or your one-page ad had worked. How do you go about creating that new special? Well, you put it out there and you wait until people do think and you make changes to it. That's how social media should work for you. Start putting stuff out there, see how people respond to it, and make those changes, either more or less. If you haven't already, there's great tools out there that teach you how to see what works and what doesn't work. And we were talking about this earlier, Doug. I think part of what we miss with social media and specifically restaurants is it's got to be part of your daily routine, whether it's making a post, whether it's inviting people to like your page that have liked a specific post, but they're not following your page, whether it's looking at how well your ads are doing or your posts are doing. It's just got to be part of your normal routine, because it is super scary if you just put something out there and never go back and look at it. You couldn't fathom doing that with a new special, right? I spent all this money, all this effort developing a new dish, and I wouldn't just put it out there and never talk about it or go ask people what they thought about it. So I would never think of doing that with social media either, right? I want to put it out there, ask people about it, go look at the data that's available on it, and then make those changes. Maybe it needs a little less saltiness. Talking about my video, not your special. So I think you just have to approach it the same way you do everything else within your business. It's got to be part of your routine. You can't be afraid to fail, and you have to go talk about it and make the appropriate changes.
My last question for you is this. Obviously, everyone in restaurants knows that table touches are important. One thing that you do extremely well is you do table touches within social media, and people respond, make comments, whether it's via Messenger or whether it's via comments on your post. You already touched on it, but why is that such a valuable piece of your customer relationship, if you will? Because from what I see, a lot of restaurants miss that. So why is that so important for you to do?
It's a way for me to interact with people that aren't in the building. It's a way for me to interact with people that have yet to be in the building. And I think for me, brand is so important. And brand is more than just a logo and a t-shirt I make my employees wear, right? It's how we interact with people. It's the food that we put out. It's the content that we put out. And if you go to my page, you'll always see it's a little silly. It's rarely serious, but that's the same interaction in the building. And so having an option when someone makes a comment that says, man, you guys have the best brisket ever, for me to go back and comment and say, hey, thanks. Have you tried any of our other stuff, right? Because I agree, brisket's great, but come in and see me. I want to make sure you try our pork belly burn ends. It's my opportunity to continue that dialogue. You'll find in social media, much like in life, if you and I sat down at the table and you said, "Hey, Brian, how are you doing today?" and I sat there and stared at you, how long would you sit at that table with me, right? Social media is the same way. If you're constantly trying to interact with my business through social media and I sit there and stare at you, how long are you going to be active on my page? And that activity is the gasoline that feeds the engine that makes it run. So I've got to have those interactions. It goes back to the two things I said earlier. It's got to match what I do in my store, right? And I'm touching tables that are in the store. So why wouldn't I touch my virtual tables? And it has to be part of my daily routine. And so take a half hour every day and go back through your most recent posts and see who's commented and make sure you like it or love it or comment on it or something that gives that activity back to them, right? You put that ball back in their court. It's a half hour a day. We all have busy, long days, but I guarantee you can find a half hour to sit and eat and look at your social media and find an opportunity to interact with a guest or a future guest, more importantly.
That's gold. Brian Picard with Fatty Smokehouse in Oklahoma. You're watching this and you want to maybe pick his brain, learn a little bit more. I'm happy to help make that connection because this is the one aspect that we see in our business that a lion's share of restaurants are missing. And you and your brother, I want to give you, complete kudos. Got this down, and you are in the minority, which I think a lot of people could learn a lot from you regarding social media aspects on how to promote and engage with their customers. So kudos to you guys for doing that.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, cool. Brian Picard, Fatty Smokehouse. That's another restaurant mastermind interview here on LinkedIn.